Shalom, I'd like to give all praise to the Most High, who's ahead of my life, who keeps everything in this world, in this universe, as it should be, because He's the sovereign Father of all. He creates, He destroys, He keeps everything in balance. So all praises to the Most High. Also all praises to the Most High for creating and allowing the King to be a righteous ruler and to rule over mankind today. I'm glad all things has been fulfilled. The kingdom of heaven is upon earth. All praises to the Most High. Today I want to dive into a little bit more of the Hebraic literature, which they call non-canonical, but I say learn all you can. So, just to get the Hebraic understanding. So today, as y'all can see, I have the Amherst Papyri, the Ascension of Isaiah, and other theological fragments with 9 plates, part 2, classical fragments, and the documents of the Ptolemaic, Roman, and Byzantine. Then you have the authors right here. So this is what they found in Egypt. We know that some of these things that they call non-canonical is because the church fathers or the originators of this modern Christianity that we see sat down and they decided what they want to and what they didn't want to include as being inspired. Now, Josephus himself said that they mainly read the prophets, so there's some validity to it. But this is also Hebraic literature to help you understand the New Testament and the Old Testament and the mindset of the Hebrews. So this is what this is about. So I'm going to go to the Amherst Papyri or Papyrus. Page 16. This is the Ascension of Isaiah. And I'm just going to read some of the things that's here. And once again, it gives you clues or it helps you understand the Hebraic mindset. Because when people get to the books like Revelation, that's full of visions, imagery, allegories, metaphors, they pretty much lose their mind. They don't understand what's being said. They try to make it be about America. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to get a grasp of some of the imagery and what they thought about the Messiah. So now, this is column 6. And it says, I'm just going to start. Y'all know I like context, like starting in the beginning. But I'm going to start right here at column 6 and just read. Shalom, Miss Cynthia. Hope everything is fantastic. Everything is going great for you. Hope you're having a blessed evening and enjoying this kingdom of heaven on earth that the Most High allowed to come and that Christ is ruling over. So column 6, and hopefully you get some just some type of understanding from what I'm finna bring out, hopefully. And he walked not in the way of his father in Samaria, because he feared Hezekiah. And he was found in the time of Hezekiah speaking words of lawlessness in Jerusalem. And he was accused by the servants of Hezekiah and fled to the region of Bethlehem. And they persuaded. And Belcherah accused Isaiah. So now we know this is Isaiah the prophet. Isaiah and the prophets, saying, Isaiah and the prophets with Isaiah prophesied against Jerusalem and against the cities of Judah and Benjamin, that they would go in fetters and chains, and thou, my Lord, shall depart. And they prophesy falsely. And Israel and Judah and Benjamin they hate, and their word is evil against Judah and Israel. So now you can see the mindset of why all of the prophets that prophesied against Israel was killed. The children of Israel consider this blasphemy, even though it was coming from straight from the Most High. This is something that the children of Israel would not have liked. In fact, that's one of the reasons why they killed Christ, because they said that Christ was prophesying against Jerusalem. And that was a big no to the Israelites. Even though no matter how wicked Israel was, they wasn't going to allow anybody to say the Most High was against them. So now, and Isaiah himself said unto them, I see more than Moses the prophet. Now you notice they really going to hate that, because Moses was their main man. Even though they didn't listen to Moses, even though they was wanting to kill him, they was wanting to dethrone him, even though all of that stuff, Moses was their main man. So now they have Isaiah saying, I see more than Moses. For Moses said, a man shall not see God and live. But Isaiah said, I have seen God, and behold, I live. King, O king, that he is a liar. And Jerusalem he called Sodom. And the rulers of Judah and Israel he named people of Gomorrah. So now, this is what I'm telling y'all about reading this old Hebraic literature. This is what I'm telling y'all, because now let's go right into the Bible. Right? Let's go into the Bible. Let's see if I can find it real fast in Revelation. Give me 1 second to see if I can find it. You see Revelation 11 and 8. Let me read it. And their bodies and their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom in Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified. So, if you did not, and then I got Isaiah 3 and 9 there, so we'll go there in just a second. But if you did not know where the Lord was crucified, then there's other hints what this place is talking about. So we go to Isaiah 3 and 9, right? Isaiah 3 and 9 says, we can start at 8, go to 9. It says, for Jerusalem is ruined and Judah is fallen, because their tongue and their doings are against the Lord, to provoke the eyes of his glory. The show of his countenance doth witness against them, and they declare their sin as Sodom. They hide it not. Woe unto their soul, for they have rewarded evil unto themselves. So this is Isaiah prophesying against Jerusalem. Now we see here that place is spiritually called Sodom. Isaiah said that their sins were as Sodom, and we have here in the Ascension of Isaiah that he called Jerusalem Sodom. So now, where was the Lord crucified? Jerusalem. What else did it say? Spiritually called Sodom in Egypt. So we had to hit the Egypt later on. But now we see that it was spiritually being called Sodom. It wasn't literal Sodom, so it was spiritually being called Sodom. So that was about Jerusalem. So for people who pick up Revelation and try to make it be about America, I'm saying the Bible, as well as these other non-canonical books, is all Hebraic literature, and it'll open up all of these keys to you for you to understand what these events is actually talking about. You're not going to get America out of this. Open up those Bibles, look at this Hebraic literature, and learn how to cipher the Bible through the eyes of the Hebrews. So now, and he brought many accusations before Manasseh against Isaiah and the prophets. And Belair abode in the heart of the king's counselors, and the words of Belchira pleased him, and he sent and seized Isaiah. For Belair was in great wrath against Isaiah on account of the vision and on the account of the revelation because he revealed Samuel, and because through him was manifested the coming forth of the beloved from the seventh heaven. So right now, in this Hebraic literature, they have levels to heaven. So this is the seventh heaven. And if you go through the Ascension of Isaiah, it tells you about each level of heaven. But this is the seventh heaven. This will be the part of heaven where the Most High is said to dwell, as well as the saints. But Bel-Air is who will be equal to who we call Satan, or who we call the devil. He will be one of the main chiefs of wickedness. You see, a lot of people don't understand that Satan in the Bible, it was many Satans in the Bible. It wasn't one particular person. It was the temptation or the wrongdoing or the evilness against good. All of that is what Satan represented. So it was plenty Satans in the Bible. It was plenty devils in the Bible. So this right here, this is just Bel-Air. He's just another chief one, but he will be the one that we refer to as Satan if we want to be technical. He will be one of the main ones that was trying to kill all the righteous people off. You can see him in a lot of Hebraic literature, not so much in the Bible itself. And his transformation and his descent and the form in which he must be transformed, even the likeness of man, and the persecution wherewith he shall be persecuted, and the punishments wherewith the children of Israel must punish him. See, this was talking about Christ. Now, who was supposed to persecute Christ? The children of Israel. Who was the destruction against? The children of Israel. Why? Because they failed to do the covenant and they persecuted Christ. Not the other nations, but the children of Israel. According to the covenant, the Most High had to protect the children of Israel. So, while he was destroying or placing judgment on the children of Israel, his covenant also said that he must protect them. So that's why we see him fighting the other nations back, because he was in the covenant of protection as well as judge. So now the children of Israel must punish him, and the teaching of the 12, and that he must be crucified with men who are evildoers, and that he shall be buried in the tomb, and that the 12 with him shall be offended by him, and the guardian of the guards of the tomb, and the descent of the angel of the church. So we see the church here being a theme in this Hebrew literature, which is in heaven. The church came from heaven, the heavenly church. What you have on earth as the earthly church was a shadow of the heavenly church. It was the reflection of the heavenly church. Now look, in the last days. So now, in the last days of what? That covenant. Once again, this Hebrew literature, it is awesome. It helps explain a lot of stuff. So, in the last days, this was supposed to happen. In other words, Christ was supposed to be killed and buried, and the 12 offended, and the guards guarding him offended, and etc. was supposed to occur in the last days. That's why in Hebrews chapter 1, the author of Hebrews referred to that time period he lived in as the last days, which was the same generation that Christ lived in. The last days was the first century. The last days was around the time that Christ died and resurrected. Them were the last days, not 2,000 years later. Not in our days. We are in the new covenant. The last days was the old covenant of Moses. It was the last days of that covenant, not the last days of the world. And on the third day shall open his tomb. and the beloved seated on their shoulders shall come forth, and that he shall send out his disciples, and they shall teach all nations and every tongue unto the resurrection of the beloved, and those shall be saved who shall forsake. Hello. For they shall be saved who have believed on his cross and on his ascent into the seventh heaven, whence he also came. And there shall be many signs and wonders. What up, Dakota? In those days, and at his approach, his disciples shall forsake the prophecy. And at his approach, his disciples shall forsake the prophecy of his 12 apostles, and the faith, and their love, and their purity. So this is the great apostasy that Christ said was going to occur. And there shall be many heresies at his approach. This is the great apostasy. And there shall be in those days many desirous of rule and devoid of wisdom. And there shall be many wicked elders and shepherds who oppress their sheep, which shall be rent asunder, because they have not pure shepherds. This is all about the Israelites. And many shall change the honorable garments of the righteous for the garments of the covetous. And there will be much respect of persons at that time, and lovers of the glory of this world. We see that all in the Gospels, right? And there shall be many slanders and much vainglory, and at the approach of the Lord and the Holy Spirit shall depart from most men. And there shall not be in those days many prophets speaking steadfastly, save one here and one there in diverse places, on account of the spirit of transgression and fornication and vainglory and covetousness, which shall be in those who shall be called servants of that one, and who receive that one. And there shall be great hatred in the shepherds and elders toward each other. We read this all in Matthew 24. For there shall be much envy in the last days. Once again, they call this the last days. This is when, after Christ died. This is when the great apostasy happened, after Christ died. It's not 2,000 years. It's not our timeline. The last days was their timelines. For everyone who speak that which is pleasing in his own eyes, and they shall neglect the prophecies of the prophets who were before me. So Isaiah saying, look at the prophets before him for understanding. And these my visions they will make void, in order that they may speak the impulse of their own heart. And now Hezekiah and Joseph, my son, these are the days of the consummation of the world. So these, what Isaiah was saying in the Ascension of Isaiah, is saying that all of those signs, because we read those signs in Matthew 24, right? They asked Christ about the sign of the temple, because Christ's second coming was around the destruction of the temple. So they asked him for some of the signs, and he said, take heed that no man shall deceive you, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. That's the apostasy. You have nations against nations, kingdom against kingdom. You have them being delivered and afflicted and hated of all nations for my name's sake. And then shall many offend and shall betray one another and shall hate one another. We just read all of that. And because iniquity shall abide, the love of many shall wax cold. So all of this stuff is happening around the time for the destruction of the temple, right? And we got the tribulation period. But what is being said? What we reading in Matthew 24, we read in the Ascension of Isaiah, that's the consummation of the age or the world. So once you go back to Daniel touched the same topic. Once you go back to Daniel 9, dealing with the 70 weeks that surround Christ. See, we cannot get through all of this stuff. Everybody was saying that the end of the days was going to happen close to Christ's life, Christ's death. The time of the end was close to him. Everybody knew that. It's just people in the 21st century in America think something different. Everybody in the antiquity knew when it was going to be. So now, at the end of Daniel's 70 weeks, after Messiah is cut off, after the war and after the war comes, the sanctuary is destroyed, the city is destroyed, which is 70 AD. Same thing Matthew 24 is about. What happens? Verse 27. And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. And in the midst of the week, he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease. And for the overspreading of abominations, he shall make it desolate, even until the consummation. And that determined shall be poured upon the desolate. So into the consummation of the age, that Jerusalem was going to be made desolate. That's not saying the world was going to end. It's saying that the consummation of that Mosaic covenant, of that age, that was with the destruction of Jerusalem. And until Rome finally seized Jerusalem, took everybody out that needed to be taken out, the Christians fled into the mountain. That represented the consummation of that age. That represented the end of the Mosaic covenant and bringing in of the new covenant. That's what all that is. The consummation of the world, 70 AD, Daniel 70 week. That's what I want to show you. And after it is consummated, Belair, the great angel, the king of this world, will descend, who hath ruled it since it came into being, and he will descend from his firmament in the form of a man, a lawless king, the slayer of his mother, who himself, hold on, let me see here. Okay, so they saying the world is going to be consummated before this, and after it is consummated. Yep. The slayer of his mother, who himself, even this king, shall persecute the plant of the 12 apostles of the beloved. So the king, the lawless king, the slayer of his mother. Which one of them killed their mom? Was it Nero? Was it one of the Herods? Was it Nero? Look for one of the kings that killed their mother, because this is what this is talking about. A lawless king, the slayer of his mother, who himself, even this king, shall persecute the plant, or the roots, or the offsprings of the 12 apostles of the beloved shall plant. And one of the 12 shall be delivered into his hands. This ruler shall come in the form of that king, and all the powers of this world shall come. So they're saying that the way that they got it is after everything is consummated in the 70 weeks. So we have a ruler coming to destroy the roots. So I guess the ascension of Isaiah really got off right there. I don't know. But if you read these old Hebraic documents, because I have read a lot of them, their understanding on how they thought things was going to happen is a little bit different from how the prophets said it. So take that into consideration. But you're not reading this for canonical, saying it's canonical. You're reading it to understand more Hebraic literature, more of the mindset. They knew that a lawless king was going to come and persecute the church. We see the same thing in Daniel. We see the same thing in Revelation. We see that little horn coming to make war with the saints. So they all knew that this was going to happen. That's the point of reading these this literature. Also, we just pulled from it that they thought that there was different layers of heaven, and they also called Jerusalem Sodom and Gomorrah. Jerusalem and the inhabitants, Sodom and Gomorrah, which will be spiritually Sodom. So now I have touched all I want to touch on that. This is just the fragments of the Ascension of Isaiah. I'm going to order the entire book later on because it goes into a lot more details dealing with the 1,300, and it says 32 days instead of 35 days like what Daniel says, but it gives a little bit more insight, a little bit more of the understanding, a little bit more of the Hebraic literature of what they meant by it. And once again, this is the Ascension of Isaiah. It has different things in it. It was found in different places. You got to see the old tablets that they found. This is some of the papyrus that they found. So this stuff is not made up. Somebody in the old created this. This is old literature that they would have known and read. So we got that, but it was just a little short lesson on the Ascension of Isaiah, and also how to use this old Hebraic literature in order to decipher the Hebraic mindset. Because if you don't understand how Hebrews thought, you're going to Americanize the Bible. If you don't understand the Hebraic mindset, I'm not saying that you have to understand how to speak Hebrew, which it actually would be great, but you need to understand the Hebraic mindset, the metaphors, the similes, how they talk, what they thought, how they reacted. You need to understand all of that in order to properly understand the Bible and to teach the Bible. So that's all I have to say on that. I'm going to actually dig into this book more. Thank y'all for listening. Thank everybody for coming in. My YouTube channel is AOSD Chandler, Assembly of Sound Doctrine Chandler. Once again, AOSD CHANDLER. You can add my YouTube channel, so please subscribe to it. Also click on the bell. You can also add me on Facebook. It's Elvin Israel, ELVIN ISR AELISRAEL, Elvin Israel, or Elvin Israel. Regardless, or you can just send me a message if you have any questions. But we see that everybody taught the last days was going to be the generation of Christ. We're no longer in the last days. We're in the new covenant. We're in the new heavens, the new earth, the new Jerusalem, the heavenly kingdom. It's all around us. We're a part of it. So if you go do what Christ instructed, get baptized for the remission of sins, go preach the gospel, turn away from your wicked ways, display love to everybody, and just try to bring righteous fruit to your surrounding, to keep bringing, to uplift this kingdom, and everything should be A-okay. Thank you all for listening. Shalom, shalom.